During the farm update, there were a lot of new Crossy Road live streams on Photics TV. It was fun trying to unlock the new characters. Yet there was another big topic: how to play Crossy Road better. There were a lot of questions in the chat. That's what this video is about. It contains 10 helpful tips to get good at Crossy Road. While the game is simplistic, there are some advanced techniques. So let's get to it. Tip number 1. Use a controller. This is one of the top reasons why I'm able to play well in Crossy Road. While finger gestures are nice for web browsing on mobile phones, greater precision is required for gaming. With a D-pad, there's less delay between your thoughts and the movements of the characters. Personally, I prefer the 8BitDo Pro 2 controller. It works with my Apple TV, which is the main device I use to play Crossy Road. With a simple button press, the chicken moves forward. Even when compared to the current Apple TV remote, those buttons are harder to press. And the previous Apple TV remote is a mess. I'll try to swipe left or right, but it doesn't always work. A controller adds speed and consistency, which is very important as Crossy Road increases in difficulty. There's even the possibility of using turbo, but it's not clear if that's cheating. While I like the idea of reducing repetitive button presses, turbo seems to give an unfair advantage. I usually don't use turbo when playing Crossy Road. Besides, with turbo hopping, it can be more difficult to stop the character. Tip number 2. Play in landscape. As mentioned previously, I prefer to play Crossy Road on an Apple TV. Now, the device doesn't really make that much of a difference. As long as you're not experiencing graphical lag, the game is pretty much the same between modern Apple devices. But what I think does make a difference is portrait versus landscape. When playing in portrait, it's harder to gauge when you're in danger. If you move forward too slowly, an eagle ends the game. In portrait mode, I'm not sure where's the cutoff, but in landscape, I know I'm in trouble if my character is going off the screen. Even with the Pac-Man area, there's the 256 glitch effect. But those game-breaking characters are not definitive. The difference between when the effect appears and when Pac-Man is in trouble is a wide range. But with the screen edge of landscape, it's easier to determine a safe distance. Tip number 3. More money. People often ask how I have so many coins in Crossy Road. Well, consistency is a big part of that. Since I prefer to play Crossy Road on an Apple TV, that's where most of my coins go. 3 years later, it's only natural to amass so many. Yet, there are 3 main reasons why I have so many Crossy Road coins. First, there's nothing to do with them. Once all of the characters are unlocked, the prize machine is unavailable. That means coins aren't leaving the economy, so they only accumulate. The second reason why I have so many coins is the cheerleader. After careful research, it was determined that the cheerleader is excellent at collecting coins. She averages around 15 coins per minute, where the Moonrock is around 7 coins per minute. That's a big difference. So if you're trying to grind to 100 coins, the cheerleader will get there roughly 7 minutes faster. With well over 200 prize machine characters, that's like saving more than a day of your life. While an extreme line of thinking, that kind of logic helps to optimize coin collection. That's tip number 4. Quests. While the cheerleader is quick at collecting coins, quests are usually much faster. That's the third reason why I have so many coins. Here's a perfect example. It says to scare 3 birds, but also 3 birds are right there. So, by quickly scaring the birds, that's an easy prize. And in this box, there were 95 coins. Even with the cheerleader, that could take over 6 minutes to match. So, quests are great for coins. That's the tip. Use the best character for the quest. The cheerleader is great at the 300 hops quest, the logs quest, and the aforementioned scare birds quest. While she can hop on lily pads, I use the Moonrock for that quest. Look at this collection of lily pads. Well, at least they count as lily pads. There's also the Clear Crops quest. which slows things down. For that quest, I used a farmer chicken. While carrots don't count as crops, and they should, that's a safe row. I figure that means the farmer chicken has better odds at covering a greater distance, which is basically the main objective of the Clear Crops quest. Just keep hopping until there's an open field of what looks like cubes of wheat. There's also a bit of a glitch. The UFO chicken appears at the last block of crops. So if you just keep hitting it, an additional cube of crops appears. Is that a strategy or is that a cheat? We'll find out if Hipstawell removes that from the game. But when this video was created, those were the 5 quests available in the original game. So basically, when I play Crossy Road, it's usually only for a few minutes at a time. With the free daily gift, the pecking order, and a quick quest, that's a lot of coins in a short amount of time. Tip number 5 is related to unlocking characters. It's important to find the character that you enjoy the most. While the cheerleader is not my most favorite character, she's my favorite for collecting coins. That's why it's tough to pick the best character. Also, one of the main points of the game is unlocking characters. To do that optimally, you might want to focus on big rolls. If you don't unlock a new character on your first prize machine roll, you can try again, but that roll costs more. It's 100 coins, then 200 coins, and then 500 coins. Your chances double with each additional roll. I had trouble figuring out the math for the probabilities, so I just wrote some JavaScript code to run the scenarios. It seems that it's better to go for big rolls. After looking at the numbers, scenario number 2 was usually cheaper per character than individual rolls. Although that doesn't factor the mercy bonus. According to the Hipstawell FAQ, if you lose a lot at the prize machine, the algorithm eventually compensates for bad luck. And what's that? They don't include people's pets? Do you hear that, Fluffy? You can't be a Crossy Road character. How upsetting. But anyway, regardless of my JavaScript scenario results, I've been going for big rolls. That's because of the ad blocker pack bonus. Instead of spending 200 coins for the second roll, it's free. This dramatically reduces the cost of the 3 consecutive rolls. Instead of 800 coins, it's only 300. So legendary character bonuses can be very helpful. These periodic coin bonuses add up too. Tip number 6 is an expansion of the previous tip. Choose the right character. Going back to the cheerleader, she's not just great for money. When a human pyramid shows up, that's 3 safe rows. That's why she's great for the Hops quest, as she can cover a lot of ground quickly. But also there's the at-home characters. Shown here is the toothbrush. Since there are no logs, the toothbrush can move quickly. While the chaos of the bathroom rows slows things down, the toothbrush is one of my favorite characters. It's been pretty good at going for a new top score. At first I thought it was because the toothbrush is so narrow, but it's probably just the level design. That's tip number 7, understanding the collision shape. My best score for the regular game was made with the Big Baby Chicken. It seemed counterintuitive, as why would such a large character outperform the toothbrush? Well, while I'm not certain, I suspect that all of the characters have the same collision shape. It seems to be just a dot in the center. So when playing with the Big Baby Chicken, I'm playing safer because of the size. But the danger zone appears to be the same. Just look at how the car is clearly inside of the chicken, yet the chicken is just fine. The hitbox can also have a vertical aspect, as here's the toothbrush hopping over a robot vacuum. That technique is not so practical, but it's funny. That leads to tip number 8, charged hops. So jumping over cleaning bots is an advantage to hopping. But what if you find the hopping to be visually distracting? That's why you might prefer characters like the cyclist or the Easter egg. Instead of hopping, the Easter egg rolls, while the cyclist glides across the rows. They're something of an exception, but for this tip, the technique is still the same. You don't have to hop immediately. It's about input control. In other words, there's a difference between when a button is pressed and when a button is released. It's the same with touch events. There's a difference when a touch starts and when a touch ends. But basically, the difference between those two events can be used for greater control. If you're waiting for the perfect log to show up, you can make your Crossy Road character crouch. Then let go to spring forward 1 row. This allows for a much quicker reaction time. Going back to the very first tip, that's another reason why controllers are superior with Crossy Road. If you charge a hop, but then change your mind, just use the D-pad to go in a different direction. With your thumb still on the button, your charged hop will still be ready to go, but your character is not stuck. This allows for split-second corrections. It's all about the way the game was programmed. If you understand how these input events work, you can use that to your advantage. Although there's a little addendum about charged hops. The car character doesn't have that bounciness. It doesn't crouch in anticipation of the next hop. It just smoothly drives along. But even without that visual cue, charged hops can still work with the car. Tip number 9 is just a general strategy. Stay towards the middle. It's not just about seeing the oncoming traffic, as that can be a factor in certain areas. Instead, it's about having room to move. If you're hanging out on the edge, you're limiting your path options. And if you're on a log, you're at greater risk for drifting off to the side. So I generally aim for the middle column. There are 9 columns, so the middle one is between the 4 on the left and the 4 on the right. That's tip number 10, advanced log jumping. It's important to understand how the game is a grid. When hopping onto a log, the character can move diagonally. It's aiming for the closest square. Sometimes that diagonal movement pulls you safely towards a log. Other times you might end up in the water. The difference is knowing the columns. Characters being pulled towards the nearest column also works for lateral movement. If there's a small enough space between logs, sideways jumps are possible. The trick is understanding the 9 columns. If done incorrectly, the character could end up in the water. But if done correctly, it's a cool looking jump. So, hopefully these 10 tips help you out. Thanks for watching.